What's up, everybody? This is Scott here with Appalachian Outdoors, and today we're going to be talking about 5 things that I wish I'd bought for backpacking sooner than I did. All right, guys, item number one on my list of things wish I had bought sooner is going to be trail runners. When I first started backpacking on our first trip, I got a new pair of shoes, and I thought I broke them in good, but they just ended up not being very comfortable. I ended up getting some blisters as I was walking, and later I found trail runners, and they are just so light, so comfortable. These are the Ultra Lone Peaks, which I found they're my favorite. But there's several different brands that sell trail runners. You just got to find what you like, what's comfortable for you. But to me, they're way better than a hiking boot or something like that. Especially in the summertime, you can get these wet and they dry quickly. They're just really light, really comfortable. I wore my first pair of Ultras out in no time because I ended up just using these as my everyday shoe. So I would definitely recommend checking out Ultras. They make several different models, but these, like I said, are the Ultra Lone Peaks. All right, guys. Item number two on my list is you can get these on Amazon. This is a fuel canister transfer that you can just transfer fuel from these bigger fuel cans into something smaller like these. You know, these small cans can be really expensive, and I try not to waste them. So I made the mistake of setting out on a trip one time with one of these smaller cans. Thought I had plenty of fuel on it. The first night I was out, I ran out of fuel. I had to bum fuel off of other guys or just use the campfire to heat up my water for putting in dehydrated meals and things like that. So I learned my lesson there. Then recently we have found these on Amazon. You just simply take this and screw it onto the can that you want to put fuel into, and then take one of these bigger cans, put it on top, and then use the valve to transfer fuel into your smaller can. These bigger cans cost around $10, but the smaller cans can be $6, $7, $8, and you don't get near as much fuel. So you can save a little bit of money, buy the big cans, transfer them into the small cans, and you're also not wasting so much buying all these small cans and throwing them away. So you can I try to keep 2 or 3 smaller cans around, and then I'm only buying the big cans from now on. It'll save you a little bit of money, and you won't be left out, inconvenienced out there like I did on the trail and run out of fuel. You'll know you're leaving with a full can. All right, guys, item number three of things I wish I would have bought sooner, and that's going to be a quilt. Um, my first trip, my first few times backpacking, this was my sleeping bag, and it's a mummy bag. And this thing weighs about 3.5 pounds. And I'm not a real skinny guy. These mummy bags get real tight. I just wasn't comfortable sleeping in this thing. And, after a while, I upgraded to something better. This is a Z-Pax quilt. It's a 20-degree quilt, and it's so much lighter than that sleeping bag that I had. And it's so much more comfortable. I stay so warm with this thing, and it gives you the extra freedom to move around. If you haven't checked out a quilt yet, you definitely need to check out a quilt. This Z-Pack quilt stuffs into this stuff sack and only weighs 1.3 pounds compared to the 3.5 pounds of my old sleeping bag. So this was a great upgrade, saved me a lot of weight, and I'm much more comfortable and stay really warm in this thing. It did cost a good bit. It's a little bit pricey, but there's several other brands around there. You don't have to get a Z-Packs. There's several other brands that make the same thing that are a little bit cheaper, and to me, they're just much more comfortable, and the weight savings was a great value too. All right, guys, moving on. Number four on the list is a camp chair. I got this camp chair. It's a Field and Stream. It weighs about 2 pounds or so. I only paid like $30 for this chair. You can buy some more expensive ones. My buddy Tom has a Helinox Zero, and it only weighs about a pound. But you're looking at about $150 for one of those. This is very similar to that. This is a great chair, and I've just found that it's something that when you get to camp, it's so much more comfortable to pull out a chair like this and sit on it as opposed to a rock or a log, and your back's already hurting from carrying your pack all day. All right, hopefully you can see this chair. As you can see, it's very similar to that Helinox Chair Zero. Same almost design. To me, it's just as comfortable as it. It just weighs a little bit more. Like I said, it weighs about 2 pounds, where the Zero weighs about a pound. But these things are great once you get to camp and you got an actual chair to sit in. All right, guys, that brings us to our fifth and final item of things I wish I had bought sooner for backpacking, and that's going to be my Garmin InReach Mini. There's some other options out here if you want, but something like this, some kind of satellite communicator, is definitely probably the most valuable thing that you could buy and take with you on the trip. I pay about $15 a month as a subscription, and that gives me unlimited text messages, weather reports, and of course the satellite communication, the SOS, if I would need something. So it has this little SOS button on the side, and it's got a nice little cover over it. You just pull that out and push that button in there. Like I said, this cover goes over it so you don't accidentally hit anything and send a message like that. But these things are great. Wherever I'm going, I can send my wife a text to say I'm there safe, everything's okay. It just gives us that peace of mind. But also it has GPS location, that when I send a message, if somebody wants to, they can check out the location if I allow them to. They can see it on a map exactly where I'm at. So somebody can see if you're behind schedule, ahead of schedule, or something like that. Or maybe if you would disappear and nobody's heard from you, they could check that last message and see where you were last. Just to me, this thing is great for things like that, invaluable. And that's my last piece of gear that I wish I'd have bought sooner. I almost needed one of these one time when I was hiking out in Dolly Sods. I've told this story before on the channel, but I fell down right as I got to camp and dislocated my arm. And luckily, a little bit later, it did go back into place on its own. I was in terrible, terrible pain. Most of the pain went away after my arm went back into socket, and I was able to stay the night there. But after that, I got to thinking, what if that had been my leg? If I had broke it or something like that, and I couldn't have got out of there, what would you do? Luckily, I had this with me. I didn't need to use it, but it is there if you would ever need it. I can say my nephew had experience using the SOS with his. He was out hiking in, I believe, Colorado or maybe Wyoming. I don't remember. I know it was out west somewhere, and he got basically sick from being in the high altitude out there that he wasn't used to because he's from back east. And he had to use this, and he was near a forest road, and thinking that they would just drive up the forest road and get him, he used this for somebody to come and get him. They actually sent a helicopter and picked him up and flew him to the hospital from there. And from what I've been told, it probably just depends on the location and the people who come and rescue you. My nephew ended up not paying anything for that helicopter ride. They didn't charge him to get him out of there or anything like that. Now they did say they believe that he made a good call on pushing the SOS button at that time. That he was kind of in trouble when he did it, and luckily everything turned out okay. But had he not had that, he was like 12 or 13 miles from his car, and he was only on day 1 or 2 of a 3 or 4 day hike, and no one would have known where he was. So definitely probably the number one piece of gear I would recommend if you're going out alone or even with other people. Somebody should have one of these along. There's other brands as well. that you can buy. You don't have to buy a Garmin, but these things are really, really, really nice. As real quick, channel analytics tell me that 9 out of 10 people watching my videos aren't subscribed to my channel. If you would, please do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. If you like anything from hunting, fishing, backpacking, hiking, anything in the outdoors, I think you'll love my channel, Appalachian Outdoors. Hit that subscribe button. We're trying to bring videos out every Saturday morning around 7 o'clock Eastern time. And if you love the outdoors, I think you'll like this channel. All right, guys, that's it for today's video. If you have items that you wish you'd have bought for backpacking sooner, leave a comment down below and let me know what they are. I'd love to see them. I appreciate you all watching.